I am 105 years old, and people often stare at me like I am a miracle. Doctors ask questions, strangers make guesses, and younger people assume I must have some secret medicine hidden somewhere. The truth makes them uncomfortable. I did not live this long because I chased health. I lived this long because I stopped fighting life, my body, and my hunger much earlier than most people do. I am 105 years old today, and I say that number slowly because it still surprises me when I hear it out loud. I was born before most of the modern world existed, before convenience became normal, and before abundance became expected. When people ask my age, they usually smile first, then look confused, then ask the same question every time. How are you still alive? I do not take offense to that question anymore. I understand the curiosity. In a world where people grow tired so quickly, an old woman like me seems like a mistake that refuses to disappear. But I am not a mistake. I am the result of a life lived without excess. I have watched generations hurry themselves into exhaustion, chasing more food, more pleasure, more comfort, and more answers than the body was ever meant to carry. I did not plan to live this long. I never counted calories, followed trends, or tried to optimize my body. I simply paid attention. I listened when my body asked for rest and when it asked for food. I respected hunger instead of fearing it. Age did not come to me suddenly. It arrived slowly, year by year, while I stayed focused on surviving one ordinary day at a time. Living long is not about avoiding death. It is about not rushing life. When people hear my age, they think about years. I think about habits. Most people believe that living past 100 years requires special knowledge, advanced medicine, or strict rules that only disciplined people can follow. They imagine shelves full of supplements, complicated routines, and constant medical supervision. When they look at me, they expect a story about doctors saving my life again and again. I disappoint them every time. I did not live this long because I chased health as a goal. I lived this long because I never treated my body like a project that needed fixing. I grew up in a time when food was limited and medicine was rare, so my body learned how to function without constant interference. Hunger was not an emergency, and fullness was not a reward. Today, people panic when they miss a meal and celebrate when they overeat. That constant swing exhausts the body. I never believed that more was better. More food, more pills, more stimulation, more stress, disguised as ambition. The body does not understand abundance the way the modern world does. It understands rhythm and restraint. Many people shorten their lives not through illness, but through excess. They overwhelm their systems while calling it self-care or indulgence. I never tried to feel young. I never tried to feel full all the time. I never tried to silence discomfort immediately. Discomfort teaches patience, and patience protects the body. Living long is not about adding things to your life. It is about knowing what to stop before it starts harming you. If there is one misunderstanding I see everywhere, it is the belief that longevity comes from control. In truth, it comes from restraint and respect. I was born into a life where having less was not a philosophy. It was simply reality. There was no choice in the matter, and because of that, there was no constant disappointment. We ate what was available, not what we craved. Meals were simple, repetitive, and sometimes small, but they were honest. My body learned early that food was fuel, not entertainment. That lesson stayed with me long after the world changed around me. When abundance arrived later in life, I did not celebrate it by consuming more. I carried my old habits quietly into a new era. Many people assume deprivation damages the body, but excess damages it faster. My body learned efficiency because it had to. It learned how to wait, how to recover, and how to store energy wisely. There was no fear around hunger, only understanding. Hunger came and went like sleep or fatigue. It was a signal, not a threat. Today, I watch people eat, even when their bodies are not asking, simply because food is nearby or emotions are loud. That constant feeding confuses the body. When you grow up with less, you learn to trust signals instead of habits. You learn that satisfaction comes from balance, not fullness. I did not grow strong because I had everything. I grew resilient because I adapted. My longevity did not begin at 100. It began in childhood when my body learned that it did not need constant stimulation to survive. That early training stayed with me longer than any modern advice ever could. I never followed the clock when it came to eating. Time did not decide my meals. My body did. That may sound strange to people who live by schedules and alarms, but it was natural to me. If I was not hungry, I did not eat, even if everyone else was sitting at the table. Hunger was not something to fear or suppress. It was information. When the body spoke, I listened. When it was quiet, I waited. Over time, this created trust between my mind and my body. Today, many people eat out of habit, boredom, stress, or social pressure. The body is rarely consulted. Food arrives whether it is needed or not, and the body is forced to adapt. That constant adaptation wears it down. By waiting for real hunger, I allowed my body to rest between meals. Rest is not only for sleep. The digestive system needs rest just as much as muscles and the mind. When you eat without hunger, you steal that rest. I believe this simple practice saved me from countless illnesses I never knew I was avoiding. Hunger sharpened my awareness. It made food meaningful instead of automatic. When I finally ate, my body received it with gratitude instead of resistance. Eating became a conversation instead of a routine. Over many decades, this practice protected my organs from constant strain. It slowed everything down in the best possible way. I did not eat to fill time. I ate to sustain life. That difference may seem small, but over 100 years, it becomes everything. I learned very early that feeling full was not a sign of success. It was a warning. When I ate until my stomach felt heavy, my body became slow, my breathing changed, and my energy disappeared. I paid attention to those signals instead of ignoring them. Over time, I developed a habit that stayed with me for life. I stopped eating when I felt satisfied, not when the plate was empty. Satisfaction is quiet. Fullness is loud. Many people confuse the two. They chase the feeling of being full because it gives temporary comfort, but the body pays for it later. I never wanted that debt. By stopping early, I allowed my body to finish its work without stress. Digestion is labor, and I treated it with respect. I never believed that wasting food was worse than wasting health. Leftover food could be saved or shared. A strained body could not. This habit required patience and awareness, especially in a world that celebrates excess. There were times when others questioned my portions or insisted I eat more, but I trusted my body more than their opinions. Over decades, this simple choice protected my heart, my joints, and my sleep. I rarely felt sluggish after meals. I rarely needed to recover from eating. My body stayed light enough to move and strong enough to endure. Fullness promises comfort, but satisfaction delivers longevity. That distinction guided my eating for more than a century, and I believe it quietly carried me to this age. I never believed that expensive food was better food. My meals were simple, predictable, and familiar. I ate what my body recognized, not what advertisements praised. Vegetables, grains, and modest portions of protein formed the foundation of my diet for decades. There was comfort in simplicity. My body did not have to guess how to react. It knew what was coming and how to handle it. Complex flavors and heavy processing confuse the body, even if they excite the tongue. I watched many people replace nourishment with novelty, constantly changing what they ate and overwhelming their digestion. I did not chase excitement through food. I respected consistency. Simple food allowed my body to stay balanced and calm. There were no extremes, no cycles of indulgence followed by regret. My meals did not shock my system. They supported it. I rarely ate foods that left me feeling inflamed, restless, or tired. When something did not agree with me, I quietly let it go and did not look back. Eating became an act of maintenance rather than entertainment. This approach kept my weight steady, my joints functional, and my energy reliable. I believe my body aged slowly because it was never forced to constantly adapt to chaos. Simplicity gave my organs clarity. Over time, clarity becomes strength. Many people search for miracle diets while ignoring the power of familiarity. The body thrives on what it understands. By feeding it simply and consistently, I allowed it to focus on survival rather than recovery. That steady support carried me through many decades with fewer illnesses than most people expect. I have watched many people grow old long before their time, and most of them never realize why. They blame stress, bad luck, or genetics, but often the cause is much simpler. They eat more than their bodies need, and they do it every day. Greed does not always look like overeating at a table. Sometimes it looks like constant snacking, emotional eating, or refusing to feel even a moment of hunger. The body experiences all of it the same way. It becomes overloaded. When the body is always digesting, it is never repairing. I avoided that trap by accepting limits. I did not treat food as comfort, reward, or escape. It was nourishment, nothing more. When I felt satisfied, I stopped. When I was not hungry, I waited. This restraint protected my organs from constant strain. I believe many modern illnesses are not caused by age, but by years of unnecessary excess. The heart works harder, the joints carry more weight, and the digestive system never rests. People think abundance is a blessing, but the body experiences it as pressure. I never felt deprived by eating less. I felt free from heaviness, free from constant cravings, and free from the cycle of indulgence and regret. Greed promises pleasure, but it steals longevity quietly. Restraint feels uncomfortable at first, but it creates space for the body to recover and endure. Over more than 100 years, that space became my greatest protection. I never rushed a meal, even when life felt busy or difficult. Eating was a quiet moment, not something to squeeze between worries. I sat down, breathed slowly, and paid attention to what was in front of me. This habit may seem small, but it shaped how my body responded to food for decades. When the mind is tense, the body prepares for danger, not digestion. I understood that instinctively, even before science explained it. I refused to eat while angry, anxious, or distracted. If my thoughts were loud, I waited until they softened. Food deserves presence. When you eat in calm, the body opens itself to receive nourishment. When you eat in stress, the body braces itself and struggles. I watched people eat while arguing, watching screens, or replaying problems in their heads. Their bodies never had a chance. Mine did. Calm eating slowed my pace and protected my stomach from constant irritation. I chewed slowly and stopped often, allowing my body to signal when it had enough. This awareness prevented overeating without effort. It also turned meals into moments of peace instead of pressure. Over time, this practice supported steady digestion, better sleep, and fewer aches. I did not need rules or restrictions. I needed quiet. Calm created space for balance. In a world that moves fast and eats faster, stillness becomes medicine. I believe my body aged gently because I never forced it to process food while my mind was in chaos. Peace at the table became peace in my body year after year, until it carried me past 100 with strength I never demanded, only allowed. I never treated a meal as something ordinary, even when it was simple. Before eating, I always paused for a moment of gratitude, not as a ritual taught by religion, but as a quiet acknowledgement that nourishment had arrived. That pause mattered more than people realize. Gratitude slows the mind and softens the body. When the body feels safe and appreciated, it accepts food differently. I believe this deeply after a lifetime of observation. Eating without gratitude often feels rushed and careless. Eating with gratitude feels grounded. That grounding affects digestion, absorption, and satisfaction. I did not eat with fear of scarcity, nor did I eat with entitlement. I ate with respect. After meals, I noticed how my body felt instead of immediately seeking more. Gratitude turned attention inward. It taught me to recognize when I had enough. Many people eat as if food is owed to them, consumed without thought, replaced without reflection. That attitude disconnects the body from the experience. My approach kept the connection alive. Over decades, that connection protected me from excess and neglect at the same time. Gratitude prevented both extremes. It reminded me that nourishment was a gift, not a right to abuse. This mindset reduced stress around food and removed urgency from eating. When stress leaves the table, the body relaxes. Relaxation allows healing. I believe gratitude did not only nourish my spirit, but also guided my physical health quietly and consistently. It turned eating into an act of care instead of consumption. That care accumulated over more than 100 years, shaping a body that endured without resentment or exhaustion. As I look back on 105 years of living, I realize that everything I have shared comes down to one simple idea. I always lived with enough. I did not chase more food, more comfort, or more pleasure than my body could handle. I did not treat desire as a command that needed to be obeyed immediately. Living with enough protected me from constant dissatisfaction. When you always want more, the body never rests and the mind never feels safe. I learned to stop before excess became damage. This applied not only to food, but to emotions, worries, and expectations. I did not overload my days or my thoughts. I accepted limits without resentment. Many people believe limits are a form of loss, but I experience them as protection. Enough allowed my body to age slowly and my mind to remain clear. I did not measure my life by what I accumulated, but by what I avoided carrying unnecessarily. That lightness made it easier to wake up each day without resistance. Longevity is not created by adding years. It is created by removing strain. When the body is not constantly recovering from excess, it has energy to repair itself quietly. When the mind is not constantly chasing, it has space to rest. I never searched for the secret to long life because I was too busy living it simply. If there is one message I would leave behind, it is this: do not try to live longer, try to live lighter. The body knows how to last when it is treated with respect, patience, and enough.